All right, Professor Connection here with a math quick review video on multiplying fractions. The very first thing I like to tell all of my students whenever I have them in class is please do not cross multiply. This is because a lot of students will use this in inappropriate times and places. For example, if there's no equal sign, you cannot cross multiply. If you see here, there is no equal sign between these two. I've still seen students attempt to do this and they'll say something like, oh, well, I can multiply this way and I'll get 18 on top and I'll get 10 on bottom, but that is not correct as there is no equal sign. You cannot and should not cross multiply. Instead, how do we multiply fractions? Well, we multiply them straight across. So I take my tops and I multiply them together and I will end up with 15. I take my bottoms, I'll end up with 12. I can reduce this guy down. If I reduce this guy down, I will end up with something like 5/4, okay? If I have multiple in a chain, I still just multiply straight across, but this time I multiply in a chain, so I can take x times 2, so x times 2 is 2x squared, over 3 times 9 times y is 27y. I then check to see if I can reduce anything. I cannot, so that is going to be as simplified as it gets. My third example is actually working with, well, what happens if I have a piece inside of my fraction that I have to multiply? This guy is actually a quantity inside of my fraction, so I have to actually multiply this 2 into both parties. I have to use basically distributive property here. So if I end up doing that, I'll end up with 4x plus 2 over 3y. I actually cannot reduce this any further because even if I were to factor the top and pull the 2 back out, I can't reduce anything down in the bottom. So this is actually correct. Now, one quick bonus example for you guys is, okay, so this is a great review of multiplying fractions, but what happens if I have the same exact example up top, but instead it says division, because this also trips up students a lot. So same exact example from the top, but now it's division. Well, there's a quick little method called keep, change, flip. We keep the first, so 3/2, change the division to multiplication, and flip the back. So this ends up being 6/5. So now I actually do the same exact thing, and now I actually do end up with this incorrect answer because I can't use cross multiply here, but if this was division, I can keep, change, flip, and I do end up with 18/10, which I can reduce down to 9/5. Whoops. So anyway, 9/5. This has been Professor Connection with a quick review of math multiplying fractions. One thing I do want to remind you guys of is where in the heck this is actually useful, because this actually gets used not only in your Algebra 1, Algebra 2 class, really any math class, but this also gets used in classes such as physics and chemistry. Inside of different areas such as unit conversions, we'll actually use multiplying fractions quite a bit, and a process in chemistry and physics known as dimensional analysis. Dimensional analysis goes by a couple different names, but it's basically unit conversions using fractions. So that gives you guys a couple heads up of where this is actually useful. It's not just math. It gets used in chemistry, physics, math, applied engineering. It can be used in a couple different places. So this has been a nice little review. Thank you for watching.